My sister-in-law falsely accused me of sexual harassment. My brother shoved me against a wall, and my parents abandoned me. But when the truth came out after 3 years, and they begged for forgiveness, my answer left them broken forever. I'm 32 years old. I work as a freelance graphic designer from my home in Phoenix, and there are still days when I wake up and can't believe my own family did what they did to me. It's been 3 years since I moved here with Emma, my fiancée. And honestly, I thought I would have gotten over it by now. But some things just don't fade away, you know? Not when your older brother, the guy you grew up sharing everything with, shoves you against a wall and screams that you're trash, and when your own parents look at you like you're a monster. All because of a lie. A fucking lie that Amanda, my brother's manipulative wife, decided to tell because, I don't know, I guess she liked creating drama or something. Let me start from the beginning, when things were still normal. I grew up in a small town in Kentucky, one of those places where everyone knows everyone and your entertainment options are basically Walmart or sitting on the porch watching time pass. Jason, my brother, is 3 years older than me, and when we were kids we were inseparable, seriously. He taught me how to ride a bike, defended me from bullies at school, you know, all the stuff a big brother is supposed to do. My parents always worked a lot. Dad had a mechanic shop and Mom worked at a dentist's office, so Jason and I spent a lot of time together. We played video games, built stuff with Legos, went to the lake in summer. We were close, and I thought we always would be. Things started to change when Jason met Amanda. He was like 27 when he met her at a sales conference. He was working for a software company back then, and she was the assistant to one of the speakers or something like that. The first time I met her, when Jason introduced her to us at a family dinner, I thought she was, I don't know, too much, too nice, too interested, too perfect. She laughed really loud at all my dad's jokes, asked my mom about her recipes, and with Jason she was all touchy and affectionate, like constantly touching his arm or playing with his hair. Emma, who was already my girlfriend at that point, told me later in the car that she seemed fake, but I just thought maybe she was nervous or something, trying to make a good impression. They got married about a year after they met. A big wedding at a country club that Amanda's father paid for because, turns out, her family had money. Like, quite a bit of money. Her dad had some kind of real estate or construction business. I don't remember exactly, but he was one of those guys who's always in a suit talking about investments and golf. The wedding was nice, I guess. Though Emma and I felt a bit out of place among all those people, with their expensive dresses and their conversations about trips to Europe. Jason seemed happy. That's what mattered. Or so I thought. The first few months after the wedding, everything seemed normal. Jason and Amanda moved into a nice house in a new neighborhood, one of those houses with perfectly cut lawns and a 2-car garage. I was still living in my small apartment downtown, working from home and trying to build my graphic design business. Emma and I would go to dinner with them occasionally, do barbecues on Sundays, normal family stuff. But I started noticing weird things about Amanda. Small things that made me uncomfortable, but that I didn't know how to mention without sounding paranoid. For example, when we were all together, Amanda would make weird comments about my appearance. Like, she'd tell me things like, "Oh, Tyler, you look really good in that shirt, you should wear more dark colors," or, "Have you been working out? I can tell." And she'd say it with that voice. You know, that voice that's too soft and lasts a second longer than normal. Emma would notice and squeeze my hand under the table, but Jason never seemed to pick up on it, or if he did, he didn't care. I tried to ignore it, thought maybe it was just her way of being friendly, even though it felt weird. What really started to worry me was when Amanda began showing up at my apartment without warning. And the first time she said she was in the area, running errands and wanted to drop off some documents. Jason had forgotten, and since I was closer than his office, she decided to stop by. Okay, fine, she's my sister-in-law, what could I say? But then it happened again and again. She always had some excuse, that she needed advice for a birthday gift for Jason, that she wanted my opinion on an idea to redecorate their living room because I was a designer and had a good eye, that she was passing by and wanted to say hi. And always, she'd show up when Emma wasn't there. Emma worked as a nurse on rotating shifts at the hospital, so sometimes she wasn't home during the day or was sleeping after a night shift, and Amanda somehow always knew when to come. I mentioned this to Emma, and she got serious. She told me not to let Amanda in when I was alone, that something wasn't right. But how do you tell that to your sister-in-law without causing problems? How do you tell your brother, hey, your wife is acting weird with me? It sounds crazy, it sounds like you're making things up. So I just tried to be less available, to say I was busy with work when she knocked, to keep visits short if I did let her in. Everything exploded on a Wednesday afternoon in October. I remember because Emma was working a double shift and wasn't going to be home until the next morning. I was at my computer working on a project for a client, music on, focused. There was a knock at the door and, without thinking, I went to answer it. It was Amanda. She was wearing a pink summer dress, hair down, perfect makeup, and she was smiling. She said Jason was on a business trip until the next day, and she was feeling lonely, wanted to know if we could watch a movie or something. I told her, sorry, Amanda, but I'm in the middle of a deadline. Maybe another time. She insisted, said it would just be an hour, that she had wine and we could relax for a bit. The thing is, looking back, I should have closed the door right there. I should have been firm and said no, but I thought maybe I was being paranoid, that maybe she really just wanted company because Jason wasn't around. So, like an idiot, I said okay, 1 hour, but I have to keep working after. She came in, sat on my couch, and started talking about random things, about how Jason had been working a lot lately, about how she felt disconnected from him, about how sometimes she needed someone to really talk to. I was uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, trying to keep the conversation superficial, responding with short things like, oh yeah, I get it, uh-huh. She moved closer on the couch, touched my arm, and said something like, you know, Tyler, I've always found you so interesting, so different from Jason. And right there, I knew things were bad, very bad. I got up from the couch, told her I think she should leave, that Emma was going to arrive soon, a lie, but I needed her gone. Amanda got up, too, looked at me with this weird expression, half surprised, half angry, and said, wow, okay, you don't have to be rude. And she left. I thought that was the end of it. I thought I'd made it clear I wasn't interested in whatever she was implying. I told Emma everything when she got home the next morning, and she said I'd done the right thing, that we should keep our distance from Amanda. But 2 days later, like at 10 p.m. on a Friday, Jason showed up at my door. And he wasn't alone. My parents were with him. All three of them were looking at me with faces I'd never seen before, like disgust mixed with disappointment. Jason came in, pushing me backwards, and yelled at me, how could you do that to Amanda? How could you try something with my wife? You're my brother. I'm supposed to be able to trust you. I was completely confused. Like, what's happening? What are you talking about? My mom was crying in the doorway. My dad was looking at me with that look of, I failed you as a father. Jason explained, or rather yelled at me, that Amanda had told him I'd made advances on her, that I'd tried to kiss her, that I'd told her she should leave Jason and be with me, and that she'd come to my apartment to drop off some papers, and I'd cornered her against the door and tried to force myself on her. I couldn't breathe. I literally felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. I told him she was lying, that none of that had happened, that she was the one who'd been coming to my apartment uninvited, that I'd asked her to leave when she got inappropriate. Jason shoved me against the wall, his face inches from mine, and told me I was a liar, that Amanda was traumatized, that she couldn't even sleep because of what I'd done. My parents said nothing in my defense. Nothing. They just looked at me like I was a stranger, like I was some kind of monster. Emma came out of the bedroom. She'd heard all the yelling and tried to explain to them what had really happened. She told them about Amanda's constant visits, about the inappropriate comments, about how I'd asked her to leave. Jason told Emma she was obviously defending me because she was my girlfriend, that she was blind to my true nature. My mom told Emma she understood, she wanted to believe in me, but that Amanda had no reason to lie, that she came from a good family, that she wouldn't gain anything from making something like this up. The thing is, and this kills me to this day, nobody believed me. Not my brother. Not my parents. Not our aunts and uncles when they found out. Not our friends from town. Amanda had told her version first. She'd cried, she'd acted like the victim, and everyone believed her without question. I was the villain, the perverted brother who'd betrayed his family. Jason told me he never wanted to see me again, that I was dead to him. My parents said they needed time to process everything, but that they were very disappointed in me. Emma and I were left alone in the apartment that night, her holding me, while I tried to understand how my life had fallen apart in a matter of days. The next few months were a nightmare. Suddenly, people were looking at me weird at the supermarket. Old friends stopped responding to my messages. I even lost 2 clients because they didn't want to associate with someone with my reputation. Emma got comments at the hospital, people asking her why she was still with me, telling her she deserved better. It was horrible, like feeling everyone judging you and there's nothing you can do to change their opinion. Emma was incredible through all of this. She never doubted me, not for a second. She told me we knew the truth. That's what mattered. That time would reveal who Amanda really was. But living in that town became unbearable. Every day was a struggle. Every trip outside was anxiety. So, after 6 months of that, Emma and I made the decision to leave. She applied to jobs in other states. I looked for clients outside Kentucky, and when Emma got a position at a hospital in Phoenix, Arizona, we packed our things and left. We left behind everything, our family, our friends, our entire life, because we couldn't keep living in a place where we were treated like outcasts. Phoenix was a fresh start. Nobody knew us there, nobody knew the story. We could just be Tyler and Emma, a normal couple building their life. I got good clients. Emma loved her job at the hospital. We bought a small but nice apartment. We adopted a cat that Emma named Mochi. For the first time in a long time, I felt something close to peace. I still thought about my family. It still hurt what they'd done, but I tried to let it go, to move forward. 3 years after we moved, 3 full years, I got a message on Facebook from someone named Brianna. I didn't recognize the name at first, but when I opened the message, I realized she was a girl. I'd met a couple times at parties with Jason and Amanda. The message said, "Hi, Tyler, I know you probably don't remember me, but I need to talk to you about Amanda. I have information I think you should see." Attached were screenshots. Like 20 screenshots of old text conversations and Facebook posts. I read them all, and I felt like the floor was opening beneath me. Turns out I wasn't the first person. Amanda had falsely accused. The screenshots showed conversations where Brianna and other friends of Amanda's discussed how Amanda had accused an ex-boyfriend of abuse when he tried to break up with her, how she'd made up that her first job's boss had sexually harassed her when they were going to fire her for constantly being late, how she'd said a neighbor had spied on her through the window when he complained about her music volume. It was a pattern, a clear pattern of lies and manipulation every time Amanda didn't get what she wanted or felt rejected. Brianna explained in subsequent messages that she'd been a close friend of Amanda's before Amanda met Jason, but that she'd cut contact when she realized how manipulative she was. When she heard what Amanda had done to me, she wanted to contact me earlier, but didn't have my information. And when she finally found me on Facebook, she decided she had to tell me the truth. She asked if I wanted her to contact Jason and show him the evidence, and I said, yes, please do it, though part of me doubted Jason would believe me even with proof. But it turns out, Jason was already starting to doubt Amanda. Brianna told me that when she contacted him and showed him the screenshots, he told her he needed to think, that they'd been having problems in their marriage, that Amanda had been acting strange lately. A few days later, Jason went through Amanda's phone while she was in the shower, something he'd never done before but decided to do because he had suspicions. And there he found messages with a guy named Richard, her father's business associate, telling Amanda how much he'd missed her, referencing hotel encounters, making plans to meet again. Amanda had been having an affair, for months, maybe years, with her father's business partner. And it was all there, on her phone, all the evidence Jason needed to see who Amanda really was. When he confronted her, she tried to deny it, then tried to say that I had pushed her into another man's arms with my advances, that she'd felt insecure in her marriage because of me. Jason didn't believe her. For the first time, he didn't believe her. What happened next was like watching a train derail in slow motion. Jason told his in-laws about the affair, and Amanda's father confronted Richard, who admitted everything and basically destroyed his business relationship with Amanda's father. Amanda's father, who had adored his daughter and always defended her, cut her off financially and told her she'd dishonored him. Jason filed for divorce immediately. Brianna shared the screenshots about Amanda's history of lies on Facebook, and they went viral among our social circle in town. Amanda's perfect reputation, built on lies and manipulation, collapsed in a matter of weeks. Amanda lost everything. She lost her marriage, lost her family's support, lost her friendships, lost her job at her father's company. The people who had defended her, who had treated me like garbage because of her accusations, now avoided her like she was contagious. She tried to do damage control, posted on Facebook saying she was a victim of abuse, that Jason had mistreated her, that I had conspired against her. But nobody believed her. Not after all the other lies came out. Not after Brianna and other people started telling their own stories about how Amanda had manipulated them. Emma showed me a post Amanda made like 2 months after everything exploded. She'd created a GoFundMe asking for money, saying she was a victim of abuse and manipulation, that she needed funds for therapy and to start over. The comments on the GoFundMe were brutal. People from our town, people who knew her, calling her a liar, reminding her of all the lives she'd ruined with her false accusations, telling her to get a job like a normal person. The GoFundMe was reported and removed after a few days. Amanda deleted all her social media after that. Brianna kept me updated for months. She told me Amanda ended up moving out of state, that nobody knew exactly where, but there were rumors she was working as a waitress in some small town in Nevada, that the divorce had been finalized, that Jason kept the house and everything, that Amanda's parents wanted nothing to do with her, that basically she'd disappeared, that the perfect life she'd built on lies had completely crumbled. And then, about 6 months ago, I got an email from my mom. It was the first contact I'd had with my parents in 3 years. The email said they'd been thinking a lot, that they'd talked with Jason, that they now knew the truth about what really happened with Amanda, that they regretted not believing me, that they regretted turning their backs on me, that they hoped we could talk and rebuild our relationship, that Jason also wanted to apologize, that he felt terrible about what he'd done to me, that he needed his brother back in his life. I read that email like 3 times, sitting at my desk, and all I felt was, I don't know, a mix of anger and sadness. Emma asked me what I was going to do, if I was going to respond. I told her I didn't know. That part of me wanted to forgive them because they're my family, but another part of me thought about how they'd treated me, how they'd abandoned me when I needed them most, how they'd chosen to believe a manipulator over their own son and brother. 2 weeks later, I got another email, this time from Jason directly. It was long, like 3 pages, explaining everything that had happened from his perspective, how he'd discovered Amanda's lies, how he felt guilty every day for what he'd done to me, how he'd been in therapy trying to process everything, how he needed me back in his life. It said our parents were also devastated about having lost 3 years with me, that they wanted to make it up somehow, that they hoped I could find it in my heart to forgive. The thing is, and this took me a long time to accept, I'm not sure I can forgive them, or maybe I can forgive them eventually, but I don't want them back in my life. Emma says it's my decision, that she supports me whatever I decide, but that I should do what's best for my mental health. And I think what's best for me is to keep my distance. It took me 3 years to build a life here in Phoenix, a life where I don't have to carry the weight of what happened, where I can just be me without all that history dragging me down. I responded to Jason. I told him I appreciated his apology, that I understood Amanda had manipulated him too, but that I wasn't ready to reopen that door, that what they did to me, not just him but my entire family, had changed me in a way I can't just erase with an apology, that maybe someday I can forgive, but that for now, I need to protect my peace of mind, that I wished him the best, that I hoped he'd find happiness, but that I couldn't be part of his life right now. My parents tried calling me several times after that. I didn't answer. They sent letters to my apartment. I don't know how they got my address, saying they just wanted to talk, that they just wanted a chance to fix things. Emma asked me if I'd ever regret cutting contact with them, and I told her maybe, but that I also knew going back to them would mean having to relive all that pain every time I saw them. having to deal with the fact that they chose Amanda over me without question, without giving me the benefit of the doubt. Jason sent me one last email about 3 months ago. It said he respected my decision, that he understood why I needed distance, but that if I ever changed my mind, he'd be there. That he'd always be my brother, no matter what. That he carried my picture in his wallet and thought about me every day. Emma and I got married last month, a small ceremony in the desert with just some friends we've made here in Phoenix. It was perfect, exactly what we wanted. No drama, no complicated family, just us and the people who really matter to us. During the vows, when I was looking into her eyes, I thought about everything we'd been through together, about how she'd been the only person who never doubted me, who never turned her back on me. And I knew I'd made the right choice in walking away from Kentucky, from my family, from that entire chapter of my life. Sometimes, I think about what Amanda might be doing now, if she thinks about all the lives she ruined with her lies, if she feels any remorse. Probably not. People like her, chronic manipulators, usually don't feel real remorse, they just regret getting caught. Sometimes I think about Jason, about what it must be like to live knowing you destroyed your relationship with your brother by believing the wrong person. Sometimes I think about my parents, about whether they truly understand the damage they did by not believing me, by choosing a stranger over their own son. But most days, I don't think about them at all. I'm busy living my life, building my business, planning the future with Emma. We're talking about buying a house, maybe having kids in a few years. And yeah, it's weird to think my kids will never know their grandparents or their uncle, but I also know I don't want them growing up around people who were capable of abandoning me so easily. I want them to grow up knowing that family isn't just blood, it's loyalty, it's believing in the people you love even when it's hard. It's standing by someone when everyone else turns their backs. Last week, Emma and I were having dinner at our favorite restaurant, a small Mexican place near our apartment, and she asked me if I ever regretted how I handled everything, moving away, cutting contact with my family. I told her no, that those were the best decisions I could have made, that they saved me from continuing to live in a toxic place waiting for people who'd betrayed me to finally decide to believe me. She said she was proud of me, of how far I'd come, of the life we'd built together. And that's enough for me, I guess. That and Mochi purring on my lap while I work, and the Arizona sun through the window, and knowing that nobody here looks at me like I'm a monster. It's enough.